Perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ted McKenna. I'm in Munster Technological University. I'm delighted to represent the pillar, the digital construction, the digital leadership and cultural change pillar this morning, and to represent the project and in particular the region as I present today from M2 Cork. I would also like to note as I kick off the contribution of my co-chair, Roisin Murphy, and the pillar advocates, Georgina Quigley and Bernie McGarrahy. A key thing we need to do is to inform the decisions that we make. Okay, as I was saying, given the volatility and uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity of the problems and issues that we face as society and humankind, it's critical to make informed decisions in an effective and sustainable manner in terms for better societal outcomes. Data managed by leveraging digital technology can be developed into the required knowledge and wisdom to address this. Our vision is to develop, inform and enable leadership in driving cultural change required to realise transformation in support of innovation, innovative, effective and sustainable evolution in the mindset and practice within the Irish construction and built environment sectors. In year one of our deliverables, we're currently working on a global review of digital transformation within the AEC sector and also a feasibility for the living labs. In year two, we will start to focus on gap analysis toolkits, which is a three-phase process, which will first start with scoping, then move into prototype and beta testing before launch into market in year four. Following on and in sequence with that will be in response to the gap analysis toolkit, will be the strategy implementation toolkit, which will again follow the same process of scoping, prototype and beta testing and enterprise implementation toolkits launch. Along with that is multi-year commitments to an annual survey, to conference, workshops, international best practice updates, etc. So what have we achieved at the end of year one, or as we close in on year one? Well, as Robert mentioned earlier on, we have established our pillar team, which includes 11 active and experienced industry professionals. We have a full-time and 4 part-time innovators involved, and that will continue to grow and gain momentum. The National Annual Survey was developed and launched and completed in September 2022. The report International Best Practice is ongoing and due for completion in December of this year, as is the feasibility study for living labs, which is also due for completion in December 2022. And of course, today we have the conference and workshop events, which will occur over many years, the first of being today. The first element I'd like to look at is the report on international best practice, just to give you an insight of what we're looking at, where we're looking at. And we have some selected jurisdictions, some of which correlate with the earlier mentioned report by TU Dublin and KPMG, which was funded by DEEPR and was entitled The Economic Analysis of Productivity in the Irish Construction Sector. Those jurisdictions being UK, Denmark, Netherlands, Australia and New Zealand. We've supplemented those with further search in terms of Scandinavia, the EU, and added in UAE and Singapore as well. So what are we looking at within those jurisdictions? We're looking at the industry context to see how comparable that is with the Irish context. We're looking at the drivers. So what's driving digital transformation in these regions? Is it legislation? Is it efficiencies that are being looked at? Is it sustainability that's being considered? We're then looking at where leadership is coming from. Is it government? Is it industry? Is it even individual champions that are driving the digital transformation within these regions? Then we're looking at the measurement metrics. So how are these regions measuring progress in terms of digital transformation? And can we adopt such metrics to better understand where we're at in Ireland? And finally, we look at the benefits and barriers and challenges to digital transformation. And of course, try to learn the lessons from the various experiences across the globe. The next element, and it's been referred to already, is the Living Labs feasibility study, which in fairness, I have to point out, is not completely a pillar one, but is a multi-pillar objective or an integrated project outcome. But we need to look at it from the point of view of, in order for any innovations to succeed, they need to have a business readiness and a technology readiness. And then we need to consider the type of living lab. Is it going to be research, corporate, organizational, intermediary, or some other type? So we've established, and Robert has done some work on this, on a model for testing any innovations that come from industry. We test them and then we can further disseminate that knowledge through the Exchange Hub. And the good news, preliminary findings in the survey coming from the annual survey is that, you know, a large proportion are willing to contribute to those living labs. And that will be, as pointed out by a couple of the speakers thus far, an important component of making it happen, improving the worth and business case. I'm now going to address the annual survey. These are very preliminary results over a couple of slides, a couple of key questions that are prevalent to the digital leadership and cultural change pillar, but just give you some insight into the feedback that we got. Now, the data will need to be further processed and will be disseminated in due course. But I think it has value at this stage just to give some insight into the thinking of industry based on the feedback from the survey. So the first question that was relevant was, how would you describe your company in relation to digital transformation? And in this case, 43% came back and said it's proactive with a clear plan. 33% are keen to progress, not quite sure how to do that. 13 are just reacting to client requirements. And the remainder are kind of interested or need to know more in order to proceed. I think what we can initially take from this is that the industry has an appetite for digital transformation. In respect to that digital transformation, we asked companies or organizations if the innovation was driven and managed. And again, the positive here is that 78% said it was driven and managed, and that's 53% saying yes and 23% saying somewhat. So again, that's a positive outcome. In terms of the if your organization's innovation in respect to digital transformation is fully or somewhat driven and managed, which of the following best describes the implementation methodology? And 31% say it's on a project basis, 31% saying there's a bottom-up strategy with staff involved, 28% saying it's a clear company-wide strategy, 22% saying it's top-down, so it's company leaders dictating how it should proceed, and 13% saying it's a mixture of all of the above. A question for this pillar from that might be, which is the optimum approach and how can we support it for the benefit of industry? Or perhaps maybe we should look at multiple approaches that they all have their validity and see that the Build Digital project can support each of these. Which of the following activities could be helpful to your organization in respect of next steps on the digital transformation journey? At the top was a digital journey planning and implementation strategy, 45%, investment in people, 41%, increase in digital maturity, 34%, identify optimum target outcomes, 33%. And the next four are in the 20 to 30% range. What we can read from this is that quite a number have value, none of insignificance, so they all matter and they will all influence how we proceed forward. The first in particular maybe indicates that our toolkit is an appropriate element of the project to progress. The next question, which of the following would be important outcomes from a digital transformation for your business or organization? 3 clear leaders, and probably no surprise, operational efficiency, cost reduction and quality all being up there at the top. Now, that said, if you look at it, there's quite a lot of the other responses couldn't be considered insignificant either. Therefore, a lot of these things will matter and will inform us as we proceed with the pillar work. What barriers exist against progressing your organization's digital transformation journey? The interesting point here is right at the top is a lack of client demand. And that, I suppose, substantiates a key focus for the Build Digital project, which identifies all stakeholders, but 3 in particular: clients, SMEs, and suppliers. Clients being one of those 3. So clients will dictate the demand. So again, we will work with those clients through the project and help address that particular barrier. The second, for those of you like myself who used to work in industry but are still very much tied into it, or those of you involved in industry, too busy with other priorities, is inevitably something that happens in the construction industry that can heat up quite a lot. That's going to be difficult, but we will hopefully work with the industry in terms of addressing that, how we can incentivize and make space for this transformation to occur. The others listed there are all matters that I'm confident that we will be able to address and will focus on over the course of the Build Digital project, and hopefully time will prove me right that we were able to overcome them. In terms of incentives, what would encourage your organisation to invest more in digital transformation? Grants and financial incentives, 49%, stricter enforcement of public tenders, 44%, more evidence of the benefits, 43%, reforms mandating handover of digital asset information, 33%, with 17% saying that they're sufficiently progressed. So again, a little bit there for the digital project, both within our pillar and across the pillars in terms of addressing as we proceed with the project. Finally, what kind of help do you need to move forward to your organization's digital transformation journey? Again, many of the supports identified during the survey design. So when we set out to design the questions, we had some preset answers and responses were required to tick the box appropriately. So a lot of things, as you'll see here, that we put on the list were quite appropriate and applicable, and that is something that's important. Now, to supplement those, Robert gave you an insight into some of the survey information earlier on of some open-ended questions. We also have those. They haven't been addressed in this element of analysis. I've literally taken the closed-end questions in order to give you some insight, but we'll be hoping to supplement what's here with that further information in order to get a clearer picture. But in total, I think it sums across all that we have, gives us reasonable insight both for our pillar and across the other pillars of how we can support the leadership and cultural change. As we look forward to next steps in the short term and medium term, in the short term, there's the publication of the Global Review of Digital Transformation within the AEC sector. That's currently at a very advanced stage and will be complete by the end of the year. Feasibility study for the Living Labs, likewise, as I mentioned earlier, will be December 2022. Then there's a statistical analysis, and I've offered you some insight to that today, but a more broader statistical analysis, fully verified and validated, that will be communicated in due course in the short term. As we look forward to the medium term, as we move into 2023, then the key focus for our pillar will be on those toolkits. First of all, the gap analysis toolkit, and then the subsequent strategy implementation toolkit. And of course, a key part of all that, today's a really good day, as people have mentioned, for the project, because it's our first conference. How we envisage, or how at least I envisage, and hopefully my colleagues are similar, is the conference is an opportunity for us to disseminate the knowledge that we've gathered over the time in the project to date, while the workshops give us that value of feedback. So our insight into where industry is at and what's it needs, so that we can change and adapt to things as we go deeper into the project. And that concludes what I have to say. So thank you very much for your time this morning.